ESPN dropped their new and updated metrics projecting what's going to happen in the ACC. What does the numbers tell us about Clemson and their odds? We'll get into that next on the Locked On Clemson podcast.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Clemson family? Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast, your daily podcast covering your Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, as well as one of the co-hosts of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Guys, happy Monday. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every day, Monday through Friday. I appreciate y'all so much for being my Clemson Tiger family, but as always, being my every single day. There's nothing but love and respect for y'all, man. But I got a nice show for y'all. We want to talk some ball. We're going to talk some ball. 4-star, 2024 offensive tackle and on the prowl. Puts Clemson in the top 5 schools. Check the tape. Cornerback Nate Wiggins. What does the tape tell me in terms of what to look for? What's his strengths? What's his concerns heading into the 2023 season? And then we're going to start it off with the ESPN ACC projections and predictions based off the numbers. But before we do that, guys, we got to give a quick shout out to FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Family, ESPN dropped an updated projections for the ACC, the outlook for the ACC, and the main thing that, Bill Conley, one of their staff writers, doing, numbers and kind of, looking at it from that aspect. He recapped the 2022 season, talked about Clemson being that team that, won the conference or divisional, title, the ACC title. And so looking at what he has right now for the teams, right? He broke it down even into tiers, guys, and it's, I love that type of stuff, right? You solidify. So I'll kind of run through real quick. Tier 3, he's like teams that have less than 3% chance to win the ACC and the ACC title odds: Wake Forest, Syracuse, Duke, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Virginia. So no surprise there. Tier 2, we have North Carolina, Louisville, Pitt, Miami, NC State, Wolfpack. All those teams are 10% or below. And in the tier 1, it's only 2 teams. And we know who those 2 teams are: Clemson and Florida State. Florida State has a 28% chance, and Clemson has a 29% chance. And when you look at, and I have the link for you guys to go check out if you want to go look at it yourself. But it'll be in the bio on YouTube. But what it is, looking at here, they have Florida State and Clemson very close in terms of average wins and conference wins. They have Florida State at 9.3 average wins and 6.3 conference wins. They have Clemson right behind them with 9.4 average wins, 6.2. So again, they're very close, and there's definitely a drop off to Louisville. They actually have Louisville over North Carolina. Even North Carolina has the better quarterback, who's one of the best in the nation, than Drake May. But that's just kind of where it is, right? So you think about these are the odds that they came up with, and you talked about the fact that when you look at offensively, that's truthfully, guys, that's really the biggest question mark for most of these analysts that are predicting for college football where Clemson is going to land and rank. They're concerned about the offense and what the offense is going to look like, what that means, so forth and so on. And I get it, and I want you guys to understand something. Don't take it the wrong. I don't even hate that they feel that way, right? It's new offense, right? New quarterback. I believe he has Clemson projected as a top 25 offense, has them projected to be the 21st offense in the country with the number 11th defense. And that, to me, that tracks. That's why I said, don't trip, because I get this. Like, Clemson's defense, top 12, potentially, you can make a case for top 10, right? And and like I said, this is per his analytical model, so it is what it is. And then but he has Florida State offensively ranked at 19th, which that should be a little better than 19th. They got some absolute studs to the transfer portal, and that's why Florida State is viewed as the biggest threat to Clemson in the ACC, because no one has as well-rounded of an offensive cast. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Jordan Davis, Jaheim Bell, the offensive line. Yeah, like they, Mike Norvell, who's saw him down, spent some time around him at the Senior Bowl. Great guy. I see why players want to go play for him and everything like that. But yes, so when you think about just that in general, I get it. Listen, I 100% understand like why you would have Florida State higher. I think Florida State should be just a little bit better than 19th, but defensively have them at 14th. They're good defense as well. So Clemson and Florida State are going to be up until the start of the season, and not even just the start of the season, right? It's just throughout the season. No matter what happens when they face each other, if these teams are close and they're on the collision course right now for the ACC Championship game. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's big money. Florida State, right? The Seminoles, Clemson Tigers, it gives you all of the nostalgia, right? So for me, looking at what Clemson is going to do and what they bring, like you look at this defensive talent, man. Defensive tackles Rook, Ororo, Tyler Davis, Xavier Thomas, Barrett Carter, who's a linebacker that for some reason I know why he feels that Barrett Carter is a nickelback. Barrett Carter is a linebacker. He's just very, very talented. He's a little undersized, like 6'1", 225. But Jeremiah Trotter, and just the list goes on. Nate Wiggins, who I'm going to talk about in the next segment. Andrew Makuba, who I talked about, on I believe it was Friday show, in terms of checking the tape. So guys, at the end of the day, to me, when you really understand and you look at what it is, I don't mind where they had, like, it's very simple. Like I said, the collision course, the course for the collision is already paved. Clemson and Florida State have to go out there and handle business. They got to go out there and take care of business and walk out there. Week one's handle. I think Florida State has LSU, of course. The squad. The Clemson Tigers have Duke on the road, 8:00 ESPN, big primetime game. With the Duke Blue Devils, who have the cast of characters themselves in terms of NFL talent. So wide receiver, quarterback, defensive line, you name it. They have some guys, just not a lot of big name guys, but guys that this is a game for them to make themselves big name guys. So you're going to get their best punch, their best kick, their best elbow, their best body slam. For all my wrestling fans or MMA fans, you can get the best right hook for the boxing fans, the uppercuts. You can get the best of everything that they're going to bring to you. But at the end of the day, like, this is a moment where Clemson and Florida State have to handle business, come out the gate, right? Expectations will be, like, even though people are sleeping on the offense, or I would say just kind of underrating the offense because of the changes and everything like that, which I totally understand. I still believe that the expectations at the end of the day are still high, because if you're the two teams that are expected to be in the ACC Championship, if you're Clemson, you can't lose to Duke, because then you got Florida State, I think, week 4 or 5. So you can't lose 2 conference games, right? Like, so you can't run through that. You can't put yourself in that position. No way, no how. So at the end of the day, man, I think that's probably the big thing, is just, I don't mind where the numbers or the model, the analytical model has Clemson, like I said, 21st in offense, 11th in defense. I'd rather be ranked too low in the sense and then shock people, right, and prove them wrong, than have them say, this Clemson's a top 5 offense, and then Clemson ends up being the top, bottom 20 offense. They're 25, top 25, but they're 24th, right? You rather them, hey, they're 21st. And then by the time the season ends, Clemson's 12th, 13th. And it's like, you know what? We beat the expectations. So expectations are always going to be high. This is the Clemson Tigers, right? National champions, Dabo Swinney, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, whatever. The expectations will consistently be what they are. But now it's all about meeting those expectations. I trust Dabo and this coaching staff to get these guys ready. There's a lot of NFL talent. and ready to really rock and roll and do what they have to do. So, but guys, you're talking about doing what you had to do, rocking and roll. And one guy that I talked about, probably my first week, first week doing the pod was, a guy that I'm excited to see was Nate Wiggins. I think he was be a X factor, a big time player for this team, and they're going to need him to be. I went through the tape, I studied him because of course, not just for this podcast, but for my scouting job as well with the Draft Network. I studied Nate Wiggins. What does the tape tell me? We're going to check the tape of Nate Wiggins, cornerback from Clemson, coming up next. After Game 4 of the NBA Finals, the Denver Nuggets took a 3-1 lead over the Miami Heat. So, guys, there's no better place, no better time to make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now, new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. With what I love about betting with FanDuel, guys, you get great promotions every single day. The app is safe, secure, super easy to use. You won't have any complications, especially with the great promotions. They have something to everybody's liking. And of course, as always, as I tell you, you get paid instantly. That's the best part. Not just to win money, but to win money and earn that money and get that money instantly. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action in the NBA than America's #1 sportsbook. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Checking the tape, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Like I said, I debuted this to you guys last week on Friday to go into the weekend, with the safety Andrew Mukuba. And I wanted to bring it back because, like I said, I've kind of gone through the tape and really studied multiple games of a couple of these defenders, and it was starting with the secondary with Mukuba and Nate Wiggins, 6'2", 185. And for me, man, the height, the weight, wingspan, he can be a disruptive perimeter corner in the NFL. And when I look at him, I like, one thing I noticed is that he plays a lot more bail tech and cover 3, where he's protecting the deep thirds, the deep third portion of the field from the deep ball, staying on top of routes, being the deepest of the deep, not allowing passes over the top of his head or receivers to stack him, and competitive. His football IQ is really strong, and this is a first year starter, by the way, guys. So I was impressed with his football IQ in general. The ability to read route concepts and everything that's going on in front of him. And so mostly you see him in off man and cover 3 type of zone coverages, smooth and comfortable with his bail drop and whatnot. Just kind of what we call side saddling, crossing of the feet, good hip leverage and pad level as well, to be able to, and it allows him to have smooth transitions, right? Because typically when you're in that type of drop and you have an outbreaking route, can you now go from your hips being parallel and facing the opposite sideline? Can you now flip, turn, and drive on that out route that's going to that's attacking the sideline behind you, your sideline that you're protecting, right? So you see that ability with him. Footwork, and he does play some press man. He is patient in that regard, being able to just allow, if he doesn't feel that there's a speed threat, oh, no, he's not concerned. He's very patient. I like what I saw from him in the contact window. He's not somebody that's going to be super physical. That's certainly not his game. He doesn't really feel the need to do that, even though he has the arm length and the wingspan to, like I always talk about, boxing from your comfort zone. He doesn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He could if he wanted to, but he's more of a soft press, allow guys to do all the dancing and releasing. And once you dictate and once you choose your path, then he'll give a quick jam. He gets into the hip pocket and he tries to squeeze to the sideline. He does a lot of face guarding, and that has some good and bad to it. Face guarding, typically, you play chest to chest. It's one of the techniques that cornerbacks are taught. You play chest to chest and you eliminate space. But you have to turn around and look for the football, for one, which he does a pretty solid job of, too. But, it could, if you're not reading the body language, the eyes and hands of a receiver, man, you can get caught with DPIs. holding penalties, things of that nature, because you don't know that the ball is in flight and it's coming in your direction. But also in terms of the run defense, he's not the most enthusiastic run defender. I didn't see a guy that gave the most, like he really wanted to get into the action. If it comes his way, he's not going to shy from it. But I would like to see just that trigger and that activity. Like he doesn't really, attack and get downhill to be a force defender in the run game as much. But when he is engaged, I think he does a good job squeezing and leveraging gaps, showing his colors to a running back. So a running back doesn't want to bounce it too wide outside. He wants to cut it back up. And when you cut it back up, you force that ball carrier to take it back to the teeth of the defense, where there's safeties, linebackers, what have you. But again, one of the things that I saw with the face guarding against the run is that Nate tends to, because he's face guarding, he's focused on his matchup, he forgets that there's a potential of the run, and guys are able to, the ball is able to be ran in his direction because he's not aware, he's not turning around and looking, especially with certain receivers. Now you have some receivers who are just like lollygagging, like, oh yeah. Some guys try to block you and sell that it's a run, and then he knows, okay, that's what he triggers and keys and diagnose. Okay, he's trying to block me. It's either a screenplay or run play coming. Then he turns and looks for the ball. But if you get one of those guys who are a runoff threat where they're not supposed to block, they're just to run you off the line of scrimmage, where they run a route and they run vertical, and now they got you chasing them or running with them like it's a normal passing play, and now the running back's 15 yards, upfield, and they're behind you. Now by the time you turn around, you have to make a play in open field. So it's those type of things with Nate. I think he's going to be, he right now projects as a day 2 type of prospect, but he's competitive. You think about that Florida State game, right? Johnny Wilson, 6'7", 230, 235 at receiver. He was Nate Wiggins was targeted 77 times in that game. He only allowed 2 catches, and there was one versus Johnny Wilson, which was very impressive to me, where he's playing kind of flat-footed catch technique, giving cushion to the receiver that's not up on the line of scrimmage. But Johnny Wilson gives him a little jab step, does a good job resetting the line of scrimmage and releasing 4 or 5 yards upfield, swims over with the long arm over Nate Wiggins. And then Wiggins is playing out of phase, so he's working to catch back up and get back in phase. Does a good job getting back in phase. The pass isn't the most accurate because I think Makuba was coming back over the top, but he put it where the big 6'7" guy can make a play, and he made the play initially. But just the competitiveness to not give up on the play, Nate Wiggins gets back into phase. He sees the ball. Into, come into the hands of Johnny Wilson. And then he plays physical, gets his hand in there, rakes through, creates a pass breakup, and doesn't allow a big explosive play down the field. Like I said, and that's the thing, guys, the competitiveness, even when you're beat, you got to get back in phase so that you're not beat. You know what I mean? Because if that quarterback throws the ball and if you lollygag or get down on yourself, early in the rep, that's a touchdown. And Nate Wiggins doesn't get down on himself, and I appreciate that, and I love that about his game. I think, like I said, at the end of the day, he's versatile. He can play some man. He can play some man. I think he's better in zone and playing off coverage and things like that, where he's a good click and close. Really allows guys to. You want to throw the quick hitters? Cool. I'm gonna come up and make a tackle, and he does that, and I appreciate that for him. And even playing, especially like I talked about, playing that catch technique, he just does a good job squatting on routes. You see a guy that will sit and squat on routes and limit separation at the break point if there's no threat of speed, if he's not afraid of it. And then even when he is threatened with speed, right? Zay Flowers, who was the 23rd pick in the 2023 NFL draft, went to the Baltimore Ravens, a 4'3", 4'4" athlete, dynamic and explosive. Tried to, when they played Boston College, they tried to isolate him one-on-one with Nate. Tried to run a double move. Nate didn't bite. He didn't take the cheese. Got hip to hip down the sideline on the go ball on the double move. Like I said, getting and squeezing, eliminating that space between him and the receiver. The ball they get into the end zone. The ball's coming. He turns around, locates it, and swats it away. You would like to see maybe go up and make a play there, try and make the interception. But either way, creating a pass breakup to where if that's 3rd down, now they got to kick a field goal, right? If that's 4th down, the game's on the line. Now you just saved the game. So at the end of the day, I think Nate Wiggins is a good quarterback, and there's just some things I want to see from him to continue to get better technically with his footwork and different things of that nature, with his back pedal, kind of high hips and high shoulders, shoulder pad level, which can kind of limit and segment his transitions. But nonetheless, guys, I think this is a very talented corner. And like I said, you think about the Seattle Seahawks and some of these other teams that play a lot more cover three, and they appreciate taller corners. I think he can step into that, guys. But you're talking about stepping in, right, and being just a force. The Clemson Tigers on the prowl. The 2024 class move up from 13, 11 to top 5. Well, they got their eyes on offensive tackle that can even improve where they're ranked right now. So coming up next, we're going to get into On the Prowl. On the Prowl, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me as we close out this fun episode. Thank y'all for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every day and being my everydayers. Guys, looking at what's going on, like we talked about, right? Moving on up, and to continue to move on up in these rankings to the 2024 recruiting class, where we're 4th right now. Shout out to Dabo Swinney and the crew. They have their eyes on the prowl. They're on the prowl for a 4-star 2024 offensive tackle, Fletcher Westphal, 6'7", 295. And guys, I'm telling you right now, this kid has played Clemson in his top 5 schools, right? He tweeted that out recently, and listen, at the end of the day, that's what you want to be. He tweeted that out, April 30th, a couple months ago. But he and the teams that are in that top 5, that's been that top 5 with Clemson. So of course you have Clemson, you have Auburn, you have Arkansas, Florida, and Georgia, and battling with Georgia. And I even went to check out the kind of prediction from one.com, so one, they're one of the better and bigger recruiting, sites in the game right now. Just the interface, everything looks so clean and crisp. They're phenomenal. I love their work. But I was kind of checking them out and looking at they do predictions. And right now they have Clemson at a 14.6 prediction over Georgia. Georgia is both, all these teams out, Virginia Tech's even offered this kid, right? But the teams that, that right now in range or in threat are Clemson at 14.6, Georgia at 11.2, and Arkansas at 9.6. And then I think where you look at the classes and where they are ranked at the particular time, I think what's interesting, in my opinion, is you have Georgia at their class. I think their class is ranked number 1, right? They have the number 1 recruiting class right now, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Clemson is at 4. And guys, I got into the tape, man, and I have to say this. This kid's the real deal to me, man. Fletcher Westphal is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you right now. And for a 6'7", 290, almost 300-pound kid, he is well built. Nice, dense frame and body type. But he's got strong hands. You talk about the grip and latch strength to control the rep once he gets engaged. Oh, yeah. I see a guy that can move bodies move bodies and move people off the line of scrimmage in the run game. I love I always talk about, Mike Mayock, and he coined the phrase dancing bear. Fletcher Westphal, to me, epitomizes that. Nimble, quick footwork to mirror rushers, whether they're going inside or out. He can mirror guys, right? I think, again, this is ahead of time, but you think about watching the combine, right, for offensive tackles, for those who watch it, and you see them going through the lateral drills where the coach has the ball and they're telling them to go left, go right, and they're telling them when to move that direction. They're inching them 3-4 seconds to the right. Now they got to change direction, go back to the left, and you see, okay, who's restricted, who's quick, who has the stamina, who has the footwork, so forth and so on. I think this kid will absolutely demolish that drill because he is the real deal. And like I said, the quick, nimble feet, the dancing bear. His wingspan is at his advantage as well. 6'7". He knows that. I talked about it with Nate Wiggins as a cornerback. Same thing for offensive tackles. You box from your landing spot. You box from your comfort zone, right? Same way if you watch boxing and you see the tail of the tape and somebody is deemed as having the length and the wingspan advantage, those are the guys that, you can't get inside to give me body blows and body shots and hooks and whatever to my frame, because I'm just going to jab you. I'm going to stay outside, and now you have to take some to get some. And that's the same thing with rushers. For guys that rushers are dealing with longer arm tackles, you have to take those punches from the tackles, defeat those punches. It's such a process. You got to defeat the punches from the tackles, get underneath their hands, and get to the body where you can get your punch off, and then you can win. Again, it's a process, and if you can't do it quick enough, especially at the NFL level, the average time in the pocket is what, 2.53 seconds. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see a lot of quarterbacks have 4 or 5 seconds unless they're really creative with their legs and their mobility. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, guys of that nature. Even Kyler Murray, when he's healthy, is able to do similar things. So he understands how to control the rusher and take the wind out of the pass rush. He can quick set, jump set, and not only that, but I'm gonna tell you the best part to me, and this is something that is not seen a lot from younger tackles. His feet remain active. He's not just someone that engages and uses his upper body strength and starts to lean. For one, he keeps good for 6'7" hip level, right? Pad level. The bending at the knees, everything is smooth and good, and really clean, in my opinion, from what I saw from this young man. And our best way to describe him, he's a full body blocker. He does not stop his feet once he's engaged. Because you see some guys, when you're watching tape, you see some guys, they get out in their kick slide, they make or their jump set, whatever, diagonal, whatever set they use, they get engaged, and it's all upper body, it's all physicality, right? That's what just trying to be brutally strong, and their feet stop moving. And it's like, okay, now you're leaning on the defender. Now the defender, once he starts to realize that, now what he's going to do is what we call push-pull. Okay, I'm going to push you back, and then use your momentum and yank you back down. It's basically the opposite of the snatch trap that offensive tackles use, where they push you and then they throw you down. They snatch you and trap you back down to the ground. So, he doesn't give defenders that type of opportunity. He's a full-body blocker. I absolutely love this kid. The crazy part that he's 4-star, I don't understand that. I think he should be, when you look at the physical tools and the power, the play strength right now at his age and his body type, this kid is more than likely going to get up to about 305 to 310. I would not be surprised. I think max for him should be 315, the middle ground 310, 305. And he gets up to there, like he continues to fill up that and gets that grown man body. We're talking about the potential high first round pick. I really enjoyed watching Fletcher Westfall's tape, and I think this young man is extremely talented and someone that we need to keep our eyes on. But guys, that is on the Prowl. Again, like I said, Georgia may be sitting at 1, and of course, the 2-time national champion, they should be, right? Kirby Smart's doing the dang thing over there, but at the same time, Clemson is on the Prowl, not just for the recruits, but also to get up in the top of the recruiting, and not just on the Prowl for recruiting, but on the Prowl for wins, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned with me here, man. As always, I appreciate y'all, and I always tell you, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, especially on audio, Apple, and Spotify, so forth, to get the latest episode as soon as it's available, or wherever you listen to podcasts, right? To get the latest episode as soon as it's available, guys. As always, I appreciate y'all for making Locked On Clemson your first listen to date and every day, for being my everydayers, my Clemson family. Go Tigers. You know what I tell you. As always, man, stay tuned with me, tap in with me. I'm going to have more checking the tape, more eyes on the league, and looking at more Clemson players that are in the league, what's going on, who's got some pressure on them, how's OTAs and mini camps going. I'm going to have more of that. I'm going to see, like I said, tap in to some mini camps to see what's popping off and what's going on, right? So, but as always, guys, in terms of Twitter, you can find and follow me there at DP_NFL. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Go Tigers.